Well, that one's going to leave a mark. Utah State loses for the first time in 8 games, 80-77 to Nevada. Aggies controlled this game for a good chunk. In fact, led for 30 minutes of this game. But a late run by Nevada was able to cut Utah State's lead. Largest lead for Utah State was 7, but they just never could pull away and take that double-digit lead. Nevada just hung in there, and then made a living at the free throw line. Now, here's the thing. They shot 20 free throws tonight in the second half. Now, 13 of 20. They didn't shoot a great percentage, but boy, they lived there in the second half. Utah State attempted just 19 free throws for the game, including 11 for Carson Templin. And Carson played his butt off in this game. A lot of people are going to look at free throws, but they're not in this game if not for Carson Templin. As he played extremely well. Drake Allen was 17. Mason Falslev ends up with double figures with 10 thanks to that late 3. But only for the second time this year, MJ Collins goes for single digits. 9 points for MJ in this game where he shot 3 of 11 from the field, including 3 of 8 for 3. Had one lined up to try to send this game into overtime, and it just rimmed out. Looked like it was online, left it a bit short, and Utah State loses for only the 4th time this year and the 3rd time in Mountain West Conference play. Today's post-game show brought to you by Farm Bureau agent Brandon Jensen. You can contact Brandon right now at 435-752-4800. It's your future. Time to protect it. Nevada ends up shooting 61% from the field, including 53% from 3. Really, that's the biggest story in this game. Utah State made 15 made threes, but they attempted 34. Nevada was 10 of 19 from the three-point line. So Utah State shot a good percentage at 44%. But the Aggies, 15 of their 25 made field goals were from beyond the three-point line. Aggies had 62 shot attempts in this game. Crazy number. Aggies with 12 offensive rebounds. Nevada with 11. Utah State gave up 30 points in the paint to Nevada's 20. And Nevada does something not a lot of teams do. They got Utah State in the fast break point category. All right, Jerrod Calhoun set to join us as Utah State gets hit with the loss tonight, 80-77. As a coach kind enough to join us right now. And Coach, there's games that you look back on and you just kind of say, that one was there to be had. This is a tough one, a tough pill to swallow in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's college basketball, Scotty. Every game's hard, we certainly feel like we could have won the game and, had a shot. But give Nevada a lot of credit. Steve had his team ready to go. I thought we got outworked at certain points of the game. And certain points were great. So
drawing fouls, and that was going to be one of your keys in the game. We talked in the pregame, and that certainly was a big issue here in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, they just put their head down and, drove the ball. It reminded me a couple years we played Duke in the NCAA tournament, Final Four and Sweet 16, and, it's hard to officiate when they're doing that. Literally just every time just putting their head down and driving it. So we'll have to look at it. Could possibly, see him again in the tournament. But a good team. I mean, Camper's the real deal. It's the best environment they've had all year by far. They played well.
When you have your bigs in foul trouble, and there was a stretch where it was Elamine and Clark, and that was about all you had out there, it was tough to try to juggle those lineups.
Yeah, the whole thing was discombobulated all night because of the fouls, for sure.
All right, so have to turn the page pretty quickly. You will go home tonight,
yep.
and then go back out to San Diego, correct?
Yeah, we'll leave Monday night, get there, and obviously we can't sulk and let one loss turn into 2. But we know every game is hard, Scotty.
Yeah.
This is the end of February. It's a very, very long, grueling season. So you got to be mentally and physically tough. To win a championship, to get to the NCAA tournament. All these games are difficult.
How do you go about making sure that this team doesn't have a hangover from this one?
Yeah, it's really not the coach's job at this point. Obviously, we're going to be positive. We're going to, really lead and do our thing. But it's Mason and Drake. They won't let that happen in KT. It's a group effort. It's not one person's job to, get motivated. We only have 4 left, Scotty. So if anybody's sulking and pouting and pointing the finger at this stage in the game, then we're not going to finish this thing out the right way.
Coach, thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, see you, buddy.
There he is. Jerrod Calhoun, Utah State loses one 80-77.
You were there. You watched the game. Or you heard it all here on KVNU. So now it's your chance to give your thoughts and ask your questions about the action as KVNU Aggie Game Day continues with Aggie Call. The phone line is 435-753-KVNU. The text line is 435-554-1175. It's KVNU Aggie Call with J.D. Walker and Stockton Jukes.
Well, not the outcome that we were hoping for tonight in Cache Valley as the Aggies drop it to the Wolfpack of UNR. Stockton Jukes, J.D. Walker with you here on Aggie Call. Getting Jalen Moore on the phone here in just 1 second. But Stockton, I don't really know where to start, my friend. If the Aggies could get out of their way, a couple things we saw there. Give me your first thoughts on the 77-80 loss to the Wolfpack in Reno.
I'm going to start off with a good thing here. I want to give a big shout-out to Drake Allen. 17 points, 6 for 13 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3. Had only made 11 threes or something like that coming into this game on the season, so that's crazy. 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Did not turn the ball over and stole the ball 5 times. Could have been 6 if not for that jump ball that negated one of those steals. But, I mean, goodness, what a sloppy game. We once again face a team that shoots lights out, way above their season averages, 51% from the field, 52.6 from 3. And Utah State just could not get out of their own way. 23 fouls to just 15 against Nevada. Now, the whistles were a little inconsistent, but this is not one of those games that you can blame the officials because Utah State didn't execute. They didn't have very good attention to detail. They didn't do a good enough job of running Nevada off the three-point line. You've got multiple starters hitting over 50% from 3, and it's not going to get it done. You can't be fouling guys so consistently 90 feet from the basket on dumb rebound attempts, especially the end of that game when Carson fouls out. That was the worst possession of the game at the worst possible time.
435-554-1175 to join us on the text line. I'm not sure who's going to get the player interview. I imagine it will be Drake. I mean, he just phenomenal out there. On a normal night, the Aggies' performance and everybody's doing what they're doing, the normal characters, that leads a Drake having a night like that leads to a huge Aggies blowout. But kind of a rough night for some of the other Aggies. Joining us on the phone now here on Aggie Call is KVNU is Jalen Moore. Jalen, your first thoughts on what you saw tonight, the Aggies dropping one against the Wolfpack in Reno.
Yeah, I think it was a tough night out. We kind of touched on it before the game that I figured if we get beat in a game at this point in the season, we're most likely going to beat ourselves and give up some opportunities. We kind of touched on if we lose the rebounding battle, they have a chance to beat us. We lost that. And then, they obviously shoot a higher percentage from 3, field goal percentage from 2, free throw percentage. We foul a lot. So, obviously those are going to make for a lot of issues in trying to win a game. And like you guys said, I thought Drake had obviously his best game of the season and some guys around him just kind of struggled, and especially if we're going to play when guys like Elamine don't score and that kind of stuff, obviously that's going to be effective to our team. So I just think there were some issues that way. And I just think that they made some bigger shots, they made some bigger plays, and they definitely out-rebounded us.
Yeah, it just seemed like there were so many points in this game. 435-554-1175. Going to fire up the text line in just a second. Looks like Jason's got Coach on interview now, so we'll find out here in a couple minutes who's the player. But also got to imagine, Jalen, and chime in on this if you had any. I know we're in a different age of players, but also here in Utah, we do have players that go on mission and things like that, so tend to be a little bit older. Did you ever play with a guy who was expecting a child or going to become a dad during the season? Did you ever have an experience like that?
Actually, I didn't, though. Believe it or not, I didn't. So I know when they were talking about that story, that seems pretty crazy. And, I mean, yeah, that's a pretty crazy situation to be in. But obviously, it looked to me like Drake was locked in, like most locked in he's been all season. Obviously, it helps when his shot is falling. But I think, like you guys said, for the most part, when he plays at this level, you would expect usually a Utah State win, especially when you have guys like usual, that MJ Collins, Mason that would be playing, having a better game. Like I said, Elamine having a better game. You would expect a blowout from our team when Drake does that. But I honestly thought Drake was locked in. He looked great. His best game of the season. I just think, when you let a team shoot above, obviously, 50% from three and 50% from two, it's going to be a long night at the office. And I think our defense at times has just kind of gotten us in trouble at some of these games on the road.
Jayla, do you think this we'll kind of see themes like this from Drake becoming a dad? Mason's also a dad on the team. With the way college athletics is these days, a lot of athletes being able to spend maximizing their years with NIL and other things like that. You've seen a lot of players staying longer. Think about Cam Rising and his unfortunate injury situation stuff. We're seeing some athletes being older, so probably shouldn't be surprised that we're going to see some expecting dads or marriages and things like that with some of our college athletes. Probably a sign of change of things when you were in school to today. Am I wrong in that assumption?
No, I definitely think that's correct. I mean, I think you used to obviously see it a decent amount in Utah regardless, even before all the rule changes and extra years that people could get. But I think it's going to be more common. You're going to see more stuff like that. It's almost just like, man, you have like the G League, NBA, and then college is right there. You got some of the best players that are going to be there. Some guys that are playing, 4, 5, 6 years, some of them. So, yeah, you're going to see some different things like that. So I think it's just going to be a part of college sports and some college athletics that happens.
Let's go ahead and dive into the KVNU text line. 435-554-1175, open as long as we are on the air tonight. Brought to you by Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat. The Allergy Clinic and Hearing Aid Center are accepting new patients in North Logan and Providence. Starting off with 0500, Calhoun blew it call on that timeout. We would have tied it with King going to the bucket. Then Templin fouls out. Good game. That Barry kid predicted that. Free throws, Aggies, 63% to 74%. We'll go line by line here. Coach Calhoun didn't know he was going to make the layup.
No, and I think the decision on if you watch it back, he made the decision to walk to the official to call a timeout before the ball even crossed half court.
Right before that mismatch popped up.
So if I'm not sure Kobe's the primary ball handler in a lot of situations. Usually it's Drake, Mason, or Elijah, and Jalen maybe can talk about this. Maybe Kobe's not used to looking towards the sideline to see the call from the coach at that point, and maybe that's why there was a little bit, because this is also something, this has been mentioned in a couple texts that I see come up here on the chain about that Coach Calhoun timeout. Your thoughts on that?
Sorry. Go first, Stockton, then I'll kind of tell you guys what I think too.
Yeah, I just don't think that you can really blame Calhoun for that timeout call. I mean, he's trying to strategize, trying to drop a play in that situation, and like I said, that mismatch just popped up right before or right after he turned his back to the play, right? So that's one of those like unfortunate timing things, but it's not a bad decision by Calhoun by any means.
Jalen?
Yeah, and I agree. Obviously, I know you guys see a lot of basketball. There's some situations like that where players sometimes also just get out of control and end up taking a bad shot, whatever. It could be turning the ball over. So obviously he doesn't know exactly what's going to happen. He probably had his mind made up that he was like, hey, when we get the ball across half court or close to it, I'm going to call a timeout, set a play up, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely don't think it's like his fault. That's just, like you guys said, unfortunate timing and just like kind of things that happen in games. I've seen that happen a lot, obviously, like where you're like, oh, we would have had a shot or we would have had it, like, and a coach calls a timeout, but it's like you also wouldn't know that that's going to happen after the fact that you call that timeout. So I don't think it's on him at all.
I'd also say I think we see it probably more in football when coaches ice the kicker, and then like the kicker will miss the iced one, and then they'll nail the next one. You're like, So I think that's kind of what you see. Hindsight always 20/20. On the KVNU Aggie called text line up next, 13-26. Frustrating loss. If Mason had hit those 2 free throws, we'd probably win. Fouls racked up way too early in the second half. Jalen, I'm going to ask you your thoughts on when just a light breeze blew towards Zach Keller from his direction. It seemed he was getting fouls real quick, but didn't seem anything really outrageous or avert to warrant those foul calls.
Yeah, it was kind of some quick whistles at times. But, man, I mean, both teams almost shoot about 20 free throws. So, like, there's a lot of free throws to be had. And we obviously left some points out there on the board. Like, we just shoot 63% as a team. They shoot 74%. Usually as a team, you want to be around, like, 70 or above, obviously, because you're going to have a bunch of different percentages on the team. And sometimes we've struggled from the free throw line. And a lot of close games are going to come down to those little things like getting defensive stops, free throws, winning the rebound battle, and honestly, like, we didn't really do any of those three things down the stretch. So when it comes to close games, we got to make sure we capitalize on those little things, and we didn't do that this game.
Keeping it moving on the KVNU text line. 9315 up next. This game was crazy. What needs to be done so we win this game? So many highs and lows in this game. I think we got to go right back to the free throw discussion. The fouls are one thing, and kind of going back to that earlier text about Carson fouling out. Sloppy rebounding fouls. You should not be fouling when you're already in the bonus and you're 90 feet away from the hoop. It's just sloppy.
And there's also the timing of the blocks and the angle you come down. It looks violent when you come down and do it. And if you make any sort of contact, you're going to catch a quick whistle on that. And that the last kind of foul sequence, you could see how distraught he was and telling the guys in the huddle, I fouled out, and he's walking back, but. Yeah, I think that really what stands out today is the fact that, it just 63% from the free throw line.
Yep.
We've been mentioning it. When is the game going to cost the Aggies at this point? Like, they hit the magic number, 19 assists.
Their first loss when they get more than 15 assists, but you leave 7 points at the line in a 3-point game. There's your answer.
Yeah, that's what it is right there. You've got what it is, and what it you got to execute at a high level. I think we've seen that tonight. Also, knowing that with this loss, just to put things in perspective, the Utah State Aggies dropped from first place in the Mountain West Conference to first place in the Mountain West Conference. So just to keep things in a little bit of perspective there.
It's a good little clarification here from Jason, or at least a good bit of medicine here. It's never good to lose, but this is a loss that Utah State can take, provided it's isolated. Losing means margins get thinner and the ceiling for seeding gets lower, but having a one-game lead in the standings with 4 games left and with wins over each of the second and third place teams is far from the worst place to be. So, and just checking on KenPom here, we didn't move from 23 in KenPom. Our offense or our efficiency rating dropped a little bit, but didn't drop that much. And so it's not fun to lose. It doesn't feel good to lose, but this is a minimally damaging gut check against a Q1 opponent on the road.
Just to update, thanks to Jason for letting me know, it is a very quick, under 5-minute interview with Coach Calhoun. They want to get out of Reno and get Drake home. No player
He's
interview.
Got an appointment.
Yeah, no player interview tonight. I've heard that we should expect a baby Allen sometime in the next week or so, but they definitely the onus on getting the Aggies back into town, because hoops and basketball are all fun, and I'm sure the new dad on the line here, Jalen, can agree. I mean, I can't imagine playing with that knowledge and being away. Of course, Drake and his wife talked about it, and they worked it out. But, I can tell for me, just the dad part of me, man, I've got one of mine for the first time. He just sent me pictures. He's in Tokyo Disneyland right now. First time away, but that anxiety of playing out there tonight and the Aggies getting back home. I mean, watching Drake play tonight, how do you feel about that? I mean, a great game from him, and probably one of the big shining points tonight for this Utah State Aggies. But getting back in, what does that tell you about this team that Coach is ready to get everybody back home to make sure Drake's here for that? Kind of seeing how close this team is. I saw that highlighted last week when Zach got to light the A and everybody pulling for him. How important is that to kind of weather these little speed bumps through the season, to have that kind of closeness as a team?
Yeah, I think it's huge. Obviously, like you guys said, like every time you step out on the court, you're going to compete. You want to win the game. At the end of the day, like basketball, it is a game. Like obviously there's going to be always some things off the court that are much bigger than it. So I think it's awesome. Obviously the guys are going to be all very supportive. Same with the coaches, with a lot of them going and being through the same situation, having kids of their own, so they could only understand, So I think it's also great. And like you guys said, I honestly thought the way that Drake played, he was locked in for having that going on, and probably obviously being in the back of his head. I thought he was locked in. I thought he played his best game of the season. And like I said, usually when he plays that well, we're gonna usually win those games. So I hope to see that he continues to play and build off of this, and then obviously like they get back home and everything works out. I think it's obviously going to be the biggest day of his life and stuff. So I think it's going to be a great experience and something that he can obviously keep his mind off in between games before they have to go play at San Diego State, which is going to be another huge game for them.
Keeping it motoring on the KVNU text line this evening. Brought to you by Daryl's Appliance. When your appliances break down, who do you call? It should be Daryl's on Airport Road in Benson, 752-9022. 0783 says, it's nice that alum Nate Harris visited the team during practice. It's nice that other alumni similarly do it. I really have liked to see the onus from the athletic department on getting alumni involved, getting former student athletes involved in the program again. I feel like that's something that historically we haven't done very well, and I really like that they're doing a better job of that now.
Yeah, I honestly agree. I think they're doing a great job of it. I've even obviously gotten a lot of invites, a lot of opportunities to get tickets back to games. So I think what they're doing is great, getting the alumni involved. Obviously, this is something that you have to try to do, too, with all the NIL things. But I think Calhoun and his group, they're doing a great job of making us still feel involved and keeping us in the loop of everything that's going on. So I think that they're doing all that correctly and taking that in the right direction for sure.
Little tongue-in-cheek here from 83-87 as we move on up. I'm going to blame the refs in a three-point game. The fix was in. I'm not sure tonight the fix was in.
I don't know. When I saw Vern Harris, I thought about it a little bit, but,
he's a good sport.
Yeah, it did all right. Up next, 9844. Still got Coach Calhoun to come. It's going to be a quick one tonight. It looks like no player. I would not be surprised if they have already left for the airport to get back home to Logan. Probably think, an hour and 15, 20-minute flight across the Salt Flats there to get them back home. 9844. Also, I thought Coach panicked when he called that timeout and took away King's time layup. We've kind of talked about that. I think it just one of those sequences that happens, a mistake there. We just weren't composed down the stretch. It was really, and get both of your guys' thoughts, and Jalen, I'll start with you. It felt like almost like street ball, or you're playing with your friends at lunch during middle school or high school, and the foul calling is a little loose at sometimes. Sometimes it gets a little ticky-tacky, but Jalen, it kind of felt a little bit like street ball there in Reno tonight.
Yeah, and it's different, too, because, the season will start out and the refs will be calling every ticky-tack thing at the beginning of a new season. Then as March approaches, man, the physicality, they let it build. They let you beat each other up a little bit more. So I think that's something that you're going to see as we approach, the tournament, some of these conference tournaments. The physicality of the game is going to go up. Obviously, the game was up and down. It was quick. There was a lot of quick shots, a lot of three-pointers. Obviously, it can get sloppy at times there. But I just think, I think there were times in the game where we would have helped to slow the ball down, not play at their tempo. But I honestly think is if you watch college basketball, March comes around, the fouling and the physicality, some of the stuff they were calling at the beginning of the season, they're not going to be calling that stuff anymore.
I think part of it, too, was that kind of just going back to the sloppy comment, we were hacking at guys. We were late to rebounds and just crashing into them, trying to get to the ball. It was a little lack of composure, I think is a good way to put it. It was just they seemed a little panicked down the stretch when they realized that cushion was shrinking and they weren't able to find some shots. They weren't able to get things to fall. They weren't getting fouls that they thought that they were going to be able to draw, and it seemed a little disorganized for sure. That being said, a lot of it had to do with us just making physical plays that we had no business making. We were late to the ball, and we started hacking at it, and that's what happens. A little bit more to this 9844 text. When Templin got the ball in the paint there on his final play, he was too one-track minded about taking it up. Was lucky to get it back after getting rejected and still wasn't looking around. He had Drake in the corner to cap off his incredible night and give us a W, but instead he refused to look, then bricked the free throw. The game was over after that disastrous possession.
You look, in the fog of war, when you're in it, hindsight is always 20/20. We see vision the other. You don't see it from that first person's perspective. And so in it and rushed in everything, I can understand it. Saying that he totally missed him, I mean, that's not really the call out of the play. It's kind of in that intense moment.
Yeah, I think he's trying to tie the game. He's right there at the hoop. He's got his back fully to Drake in the corner. Like, Drake was directly behind him. And so we see Drake on camera because we're looking face on to Carson Templin, but Carson's not seeing that.
And we said, Drake! Like, we were even yelling it, but unfortunately the technology's not there for the TV to project that.
And especially when you're, like, there on floor level, too. Like, you got to remember, these are tall guys. You can't see through the bodies like you can see over them with the camera angle. It's just, there's a lot going on down there. It's not as easy to see as it is on TV.
Up next, 6863 on the KVNU text line. On the bright side, best wishes to Drake Allen and Mrs. Allen. I think all of us can echo that and just want a safe, healthy childbirth, mom, everything, and get those Aggies back home to celebrate the new addition to the family. Up next on the KVNU text line, we've got 9764. Tough game to lose, just completely crumbled the last 4 minutes. Still in first place and squarely in the NCAA tournament. Still in first place in the conference. We need Collins to start having some better games. He struggled a little bit as of late.
Yeah, he's been super hot and cold lately.
Yeah, and it's Jalen, maybe you can give some insight in this. MJ really the first time in his career, and Coach Calhoun has mentioned this, that, he's called upon to be the man, to score, to have those big games and those big moments. Going through ebbs and flows of the season and the ups and downs are just kind of what life is, not only in the game, but what we deal with in everyday life too. How do you see Collins going through this season, and kind of give us a insight on how you would deal with that with the player and coming out with it and just kind of persevering through it?
Yeah, and it's hard, like kind of just what I've told you guys. That's the hardest thing about being, the best player, star player, best offensive player, is like the consistency, just night out, night in. Like, it's just super hard, like every team that you're playing is going to prepare for you, and every coach is usually going to prepare for you in a different way than the previous game that you just played. So you always got to kind of be a step ahead offensively, and honestly, like, that takes time to try to figure that out and gain that part of the game, and it obviously takes years of being that guy, and for him to be thrown into that position, I think he's done an awesome job so far, because it's a lot that's been put on him. He's obviously still averaging over 18. He's obviously playing more minutes, getting more touches than he's got in his career, so it's an adjustment that he has to make. And so, yeah, I think you're just going to kind of see the ebbs and flows of the season, the up and downs. But I think the biggest thing, if I were him, if it's me, I think the biggest thing is like just confidence, obviously the physical attributes, the scoring, the, athleticism, all that's always going to be there. But obviously if you don't have the confidence, you lose some of that confidence. Some of those other abilities start to dwindle. So I think the biggest thing for him is just going to mentally be able to stay in it, stay focused, stay mentally confident, and like it'll come back to him. There's going to be games where he gets back in his rhythm, and we're going to see the MJ that we've been seeing. And I think that's, obviously we want that to be peaking come Mountain West tournament time in the NCAA tournament, when we're going to have some of these most important games of the whole season. So I'm expecting him to go back up. The biggest thing is like we always say, just don't, lose that mindset. Don't lose that confidence. And I think if he does that and doesn't lose that, he'll be fine.
0512 on the KVNU text line. Unfortunate loss, unfortunate timeout, unfortunate foul shooting, a series of unfortunate events. I added that little pet piece there. It kind of made me remember that series. They made them. We missed them when it comes to the free throws. Yep, 0512. You're right there on it. Just
about as
unfortunate
succinct as you can get. Yep.
Yeah, unfortunate. Just around the bend there. 1800 in up next. Drake will go directly from the charter directly to the hospital, where his wife will be induced, and his baby boy will be there in the morning. Book it. All right, 1800's got the
playbook, apparently.
I guess, yeah. I did not get shipped that playbook, and I would not want to get shipped that playbook.
No, that's
yeah. Between mom and dad.
I'll celebrate when they post the pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, when Coach Calhoun starts handing out cigars at the Estes, that's when we'll start celebrating. 8968, the final couple texts here on KVNU. Still going to hear from Coach Calhoun. Very short interview tonight, as Coach wants to get back on the charter and head back to Logan to get Drake back here. 8968, it seems that the Aggies get a lot of calls on the road with teams remaining in the Mountain West. I didn't see too much of a foul discrepancy tonight. I thought sometimes they let them play tackle football, and other times, if the wind blew the wrong direction, it just kind of went back and forth.
I will say, look, there's an eight foul discrepancy in the game. 23 for us, 15 for them. That being said, kind of like we were just talking about, we were hacking tonight. We were. Can't get around that. And Nevada shot 51% from the field, 52.6% from three, and 74% from the free throw line, which is 11 points better than we did. So, I mean, we can lock in on the fouls all we want, but we played sloppy and we did not execute the proper game plan. So, we can get upset about the officiating, but I don't think that's very high on the list of things to blame for this loss tonight.
Oh, I agree. Jalen, any thoughts on that?
No, I honestly agree with you guys. I do think there were some times that we were just fouling unnecessarily, especially when they were in the bonus towards the end of the game. You know, they get a stop. Let's get back on defense, keep it close. There was just some stuff down the stretch like that. I honestly didn't think the reffing was that bad. Obviously, you're never going to get a perfectly reffed game. But, yeah, I wouldn't say it's on the reffing. I think there was just opportunities that were there to be had, and we didn't capitalize on them this game, to be honest.
Last text here on the KVNU text line, 435-554-1175. If you want to try and squeak one in before the buzzer, brought to you by Primrose Home Health and Hospice, exceptional home health care in the comfort of your own home, and by RE/MAX Peaks, your local trusted real estate company. I thought it was interesting there were 2 lane violation calls, one on each team. This is 9696. My question is, why don't they ever call a 3-second violation? I don't think I've seen one called all season, and people seem to set up a tent in the key. Give me some insight on this. Do conference officials tell the refs to be lax on some calls like that? I think it's a pretty subjective thing to call for the officials. I think it's a 5-second as well in the lane. But, yeah, I'll ask Jalen this a little bit more. It seems like that's one of the things that they're not typically as focused on.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, you're not going to see a lot of offensive 3 seconds unless the guy's really actually just like trying to post up the whole possession in there. Usually, honestly, if you catch it and you're being pretty active, like you are trying to attempt to move, a shot fake, a pass, something like that, they're not really going to call it. Because like there's times when you could call some things like I love to play. Drake was in there and he shot faked like 4 times. They got like. If you're really keeping track of like 3 seconds, how they probably like, or whatever the call would be, there's opportunities like that where these plays wouldn't happen. But I'm fine with it as long as when you get the ball and stuff, you're being actively trying to make a play. And I kind of honestly think that's how the refs look at it. I think if you're just camped in there trying to post up, just standing there, whatever it may be, like then they'll call it. But if you're being actively trying to make something happen, usually you're not going to see them call like an offensive 3.
Well, Jalen, that's going to wrap it up for the text as they've kind of texted out. We're going to go ahead and turn to Coach Calhoun's thoughts. But before we go, first thoughts on heading to San Diego. It is a late one. We got a 9 o'clock tip coming up this Wednesday going to Viejas. Your thoughts? San Diego State also going down today and Fort Collins. First thoughts on the matchup for the Aggies.
Yeah, obviously we're gonna see a team, both teams coming off losses, so we know a win's going to be big. They have a chance to potentially get back up there in first place if they beat us, so they know it's in it. We know it's in it. We're coming off a loss. Obviously playing against another team where I don't think we can get out-rebounded. This is a team where they're probably not going to shoot as well as Nevada did tonight, but we got to make sure guys don't get hot from the three-point line. We got to match their athleticism and their physicality. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good game. Like I said, the rest of the way out, Aggies have pretty tough games, so I think these are some opportunities to showcase why we are the top team in the Mountain West. We didn't expect to win every game. So if you go out there and you go to San Diego State and you capitalize on a win at their place, I think that could be huge for us and huge for our confidence as well heading into the Mountain West tournament and the NCAA tournament as well.
We had one more text squeak in from 7068. Speaking of no calls, travel when ball is called happens all the time. I hear watching the game with Stockton, Jalen, I'll get your thoughts. Watching the game with Stockton, I hear probably that's a travel. That's a travel. So
they've been very generous about 0 steps this year. That's one of the buzzwords we're seeing coming into basketball now is the 0 step, the gather step, whatever you want to call it. I think they're just giving a little more lenience to movement and playmaking.
It looks like hopscotch to me sometimes.
Yeah, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been this loose, I don't think.
Jalen, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. They definitely are. It's definitely more lenient. Obviously, you can't even get started on like what the NBA can get away with. You know what I mean? So, but obviously, more skilled players finding ways to manipulate rules and stuff like that. It's just what it is. Like as time goes on, you're going to find different guys and different players who are going to change the game and find ways to manipulate the rules and figure out different things. And so I don't think travels are called as often. I even see some guys, like, they used to be so strict on even if you slid your pivot foot a little bit, it was like, so you get away with some things that they don't call as often. So, I do think there's some travels that back in the day for sure would have been getting called, and they just kind of let it go a little bit more.
All right, Jalen, you have a good one, my friend. We'll talk to you next time.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, Jalen Moore joins us every Aggie game day and Aggie call here on KVNU to give us the insight of a former player for our Utah State Aggies. As we mentioned tonight, no player interview. Coach Calhoun trying to get the guys home as quick as they can. Right now, going to hear from about 4.5 minutes of a Coach Calhoun that's probably already got a foot in the plane on the tarmac in Reno.
He's already got his film review scripted out in his head right now, I guarantee.
They're already getting their trays in the upright position to take off. And here's Coach Calhoun's post-game thoughts after the Aggies drop one in Reno.
Hey, Coach, this is Jason Walker. Feels like there are a lot of plays where one better bounce could have changed the game, a couple of missed shots. Obviously, that timeout at the end that negated Colby's basket. Just kind of how frustrating does that make this game in the end?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is it's not about a timeout. It's not about one possession. It's the overall body of work, right? If we don't call timeout, he makes it. Who knows what could have happened? Honestly, if Colby made better decisions throughout the game, I probably wouldn't have called that timeout. But I think he had, how many turnovers did he have up to that point? 3. Did he have 3 turnovers? Yeah. So it's, shoulda, coulda, woulda. In that case, to be honest with you. What else you guys got?
Hey, Coach, this is Sean from the Herald Journal.
I got about 2 minutes. Fire away.
This is Coach from the Herald. This is Sean from the Herald Journal.
Yeah,
just talk a little bit about how, it just seemed like you could never get away from him. You made some runs. You got up by 8, I think, 7 a couple times. It felt like maybe you had the momentum, but you could just never fully get away from him.
Yeah, a lot of fouls. There was just really no rhythm to the game. We're constantly juggling, Keller out, KT out. It's just one of those very, very frustrating games where we had no rhythm as far as our rotations. So we had to play small. We got guys that, aren't used to doing that at long periods of time, right? So they beat you on the glass. But bottom line is we got to guard better. We got to run better offense. It wasn't one side of the ball. Your offense affects your defense. And we just got to be better. You got to credit Nevada. You got to credit Steve Alford. I thought it was their best atmosphere all year. Last time we'll ever play these guys. So that one stings. But, being 3-1 against them in 2 years is pretty big accomplishment. Swept them last year, split this year. Certainly wanted to sweep them this year. But you got a 1-game lead with 4 to go. You're still trying to win a conference championship. You're trying to get to the NCAA tournament. There's a lot at stake. Can't get discombobulated. Got to stay together down the stretch, and can't question anything. You can't question timeouts. You can't question ball screen coverages. You can question all the stuff you want, but you got to stay together. That's the real message: is stick together, and better outcomes will come.
Hey, Coach, Patrick Mayhorn from the Ag Ship. Was the rebounding issue here? You lost the rebounding battle by 10. Was that just a matter of having to go small so often, or was that a larger issue?
I think so. When you're playing Colby King at the 4 and he's 6'1", that's certainly a pretty big, difference.
Hey, Coach, can you just talk about Drake Allen's game? He seemed like he really came out playing well tonight. I know he's got other things on his mind kind of as well, but
really proud of Drake. I thought he led us. Obviously offensively he was terrific. Certain guys that it just wasn't their night, right? And I thought he really stepped up. He wanted the ball. We put the ball in his hands. Every time he and I talked, he wanted it. He was ready for the moment. And certainly want to get out of here as fast as we can because his wife will hopefully have the baby here in the next 24, 30 hours. So want to kind of wrap this up as fast as we can to get him home.
Carson Frost with the Utah Statesman. Coach, the offense just seemed uncharacteristically frantic tonight. Just what did you notice in terms of their temperament on that side of the ball?
Yeah, when you miss shots, you guys are going to form your opinions. I thought we got really good shots, to be honest with you. I don't know if they're frantic shots or whatever, but I thought we got plenty of clean looks. Their 5 didn't really support. I thought we missed a lot of step-in threes. When you don't make them, right, it's like process over outcome. I thought we had plenty of looks. I didn't think we were frantic at all.
All right, guys, last one.
Coach, I'll just ask one about the three-point shooting. You hit like 13 in the first 25 minutes. Shifted away kind of emphasis, but what was hitting all those threes, and then I think you only hit 2 in the last about 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job really taking them away. I thought they did a good job running us off the line, really rushing the shot at the end. Maybe that's what they were talking about with frantic. But I still think we got a lot of open looks, But you got to give them credit. I mean, they made the plays in the last, really the second half.
And that's it, Stockton. He is in and out, ready to go, and sounded a little annoyed, to be honest with you. And yeah, his team got out-rebounded, the fouls, the hacking, the stuff, just not doing the little things and making it happen. So you heard Coach say it wasn't just about one possession. It wasn't just about one timeout. It's agreed. It's a culmination of all the events and the effort throughout the game.
I know Calhoun pushed back on some of the reporters there about frantic offense, but I got to push back on his response. We had 15 made threes and only 10 made 2-point shots. It was not.
It was weird. It was almost like scared to go into the paint.
Even if they were clean looks at times, there were not a whole lot of quality shots taken by Utah State tonight. And I think when they go back to film review, they'll see that a little bit. Obviously, there's some frustration. There's some personal stuff going on off the court. You don't like to lose on the road, especially to Nevada, who you already beat this season. It's a frustrating one. They just lost to San Jose State. It doesn't look great. It's still a Q1 loss on the road. It's not that damaging. Didn't move us in KenPom. We might shift down one in the net rankings tomorrow morning, but I don't know. I feel like that was more of a frustration response than an honest response from Calhoun.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're going to get the straight up and up on that too, but it's also, look, if it hits, the Aggies hit that 15 mark, but you're right, it didn't look calculated, and they were swatted at the rim. There were times, easy layups, there's one of your main scorers, Falslev, is counted on to make those easy bunnies, easy layups, and it just seemed like, man, he'd get it up near the rim. They're close, and kryptonite all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's funny. We talked about the little things a little bit. Patrick Mayhorn from the Ag Ship put this out on social media during that game, but for Utah State, they preach the little things all the time. They did the big things every now and then in this game. They didn't do the little things. They just didn't do it. When you look at some of the standout numbers from tonight, Utah State as a team, second chance points only had 8 on 12 offensive rebounds. You had 36 points from the bench, which is good, but you only turned the ball over 10 times, got out-rebounded by 10, 20 points in the paint to 30 given up, 14 fast break points to 20 given up, 19 assists, just still couldn't get it done. But what really gets me, and what really I think is going to be frustrating to most people, is when you take a look at layups and dunks. 10 for 16 for Nevada, and for Utah State, 7 for 17 on layups, 2 for 2 on dunks. That's 9 for 19 on what's supposed to be the easy stuff. And that it's not going to get it done. 63% from the free throw line is not going to get it done. So it's all about the little things, right? Utah State can do the big things. We've seen that. But they're extremely volatile when it comes to the little things. And we're being reminded of that now. They went on an 8-game heater. We thought they were untouchable. Not so.
Now it's really up to them. We know what this team's capable of. They have to execute. If they execute tonight in all facets, big and little, it's taken care of. It's handled. You shoot, you make 4 more of your free throws. This game is tighter. We're worried. We're concerned, but you won it out. That's showing that not doing those little things, Stockton, it's going to come back to haunt them. And, man, you have one of these pop off, and I know everybody says you're a lock, but I got to say, you go to the Mountain West tournament, you play the first game, and you have something like this, and you're out early, nothing's guaranteed. I mean, nothing at all is guaranteed.
Yep. Here's what you got left. At San Diego State versus Grand Canyon, at UNLV versus New Mexico. You can lose one of those games. That's it. If you lose more than one of those games, we are sweating for the remainder of this month and the next month because we don't know where we're going to be.
Yeah.
We could be on the bubble. We could be first 4 out. We could be last 4 in. We could be as high as a 13 seed, as low as a 7 seed if we can win these games out. So, not a great loss, not a super damaging loss, but there's a lot of things that you got to hone in on in film review over the next couple of days because at Viejas, KenPom thinks we're going to win that game right now by 1 point.
Another thing you got to look at is we start seeing this team okay, we're still in first place, but they really had a chance to be the Undertaker, to take the rest of the Mountain West to the gallows and leave them on the platform. And the Aggies just kind of said, nah, we're okay with it.
That San Diego State loss was big because it kept Utah State in first place, and it really didn't hurt them in terms of the conference race. But resume-wise, I mean,
how many opportunities are you going to get? You're not going to get very many more to make a statement, and a big statement was made tonight the other way.
Yep, you've only got, let's see, one more Quad 1 game on your schedule. That's on Wednesday at San Diego State. The UNLV game is a complete trap game on the road at UNLV. Yeah. That's going to be a breath holder. And I'm not sure how I feel about Grand Canyon or New Mexico right now because, the Grand Canyon game at Grand Canyon, there's a lot of things that happen in that game I don't think will be as noticeable in Logan. But the New Mexico game, we blew them out of the water in the pit, but we're so volatile. Everyone in the Mountain West is so volatile. You don't know what you're going to get any given night. We saw that today with the Mountain West scoreboard. Absolutely. Utah State fell victim to it at the end of the night. So regroup, reassemble, get to Viejas on Wednesday, and you got to play your best basketball this season.
And so with that, for Stockton Jukes, I'm J.D. Walker, and not the outcome we wanted, Aggie fans, but guess what? We'll be back at it again on Wednesday. Late start, 8 o'clock Aggie game day with Stockton Jukes and myself, 9 o'clock tip-off. We will have some late night Wednesday night hoops. Have a great night, Cache Valley. We'll see you back here next time, and go Aggies.
Utah State broadcast has been a presentation of News Talk KVNU and the Cache Valley Media Group, the heritage home for the Aggies.